Hey, everyone. Welcome. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. It's the Pominos channel. It is selection table time after our week sabbatical. Joining me in this ever-changing lineup because someone is either sick, working, or just totally forgotten and created a fictional excuse like someone's cat's died. Dog joins me, as always, the painter of figurines, the revealer of stats, my best mate. Dog, how are you?
Mate, I'm bloody fantastic. Excited to be back on the show. Me
It's
and
not
you
what
had
you're
a
saying
ball.
off camera.
Yeah, no, I wish we didn't have to do any content. No, had a ball last week with you, Pom. Though we did that blind stat show where the audience picked the team based on hidden stats, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this.
Mate, it's good. Mate, I genuinely mean it. I'm glad to be back. And joining us, as always, a man that not only makes songs that make girls sing, but he also picks teams that makes girls weep. How are you, Mr. Ian?
Yeah, very good, Pommy, as always. And yeah, absolutely keen to get stuck into it this week. Feels like the first couple of rounds, it's been almost really easy to pick the team due to the guys available. So now that we've got a few back, it feels like it's going to be an insane episode and a really tough one. I'm keen to hear everyone's arguments and come together to create the team. I cannot wait.
Mate, 2-0 makes us happy. And finally joining us, the newest member of the panel and recently just hit 3,000 on his own YouTube show. So I'm sure you'll all join me in chat congratulating him. And because of that, he's had to go mobile this week because he's been chased by 3,000 fans, aren't you, Bucky? How you doing, Bucky?
Yeah, good, Pommy. Good. How are you, boys? Yeah, great to be on. I'm excited about this tonight, as Ian said. Getting some numbers back now and just starting to get that. I don't know, that sort of. Oh, I don't know. I'm particularly excited to see how this will shape up at selection tomorrow, obviously. But what you guys come up with tonight, but I don't know if I'm going to go. Well, I've already put my team in, but maybe just a fraction conservative on my behalf. I won't be getting the axe out, boys. Unfortunately, not this week anyway.
One of us has got the axe out this week, and so that will be. Stay tuned. And I'm going to give everyone a spoiler. It's not me for once, but we'll start with you, Bucky, because you're the one who has to leave us early. So we'll get your team done and your argument sorted. But based on last week, was there anyone that, let's just say, if we had a full strength side, was there anyone that you felt maybe on the precipice of being axed?
Well, I've axed Fantasia, so he's out. He becomes my sub, and unfortunately, he's done nothing wrong. In fact, he's been okay, and I think it's just balance this week. With Whittaker coming back in, he'll come back in, and unfortunately, Lewis Young is the other lad that goes out. I really like what Brody Kemp brings to this footy team. I just think he's probably a little bit more versatile than Young. But it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe Young stay. I either stay or be the sub, given maybe a few question marks around Whittaker, but they wouldn't play him unless he was 100% fit. So I've gone in pretty much status quo in the back half, except for Whittaker coming in. We've got that run of Sard and Williams and Boyd as the rotation on the bench. I think those three in particular have been really good in the first 3 weeks. I think that's a real strength to us. And I think it's actually, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a strength of North Melbourne's as well. I can't wait to see, the combination of Zach Fisher and Marcucci and also who's the other boy down? Yeah, I think that's really strong. I think Zach Fisher started the season off really well. So, yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm keeping it pretty solid across the centre line. I don't know if I've been hard on Ollie Hollands, but I feel like he can definitely go to another level. Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of heat on him, but at the same time, who's pressing for that spot, that other spot on the wing? Is Jackson Binns doing enough in the VFL? Although we didn't play a game last weekend, we've got a game this weekend in the VFL. I'm loving what Fogarty's doing across half forward. He's become our real sort of hard at it, sort of tackling machine. Cottrell's just signed a 3-year contract. Very important to us, and I'm bringing Motlop in as well. I just feel he's potentially our best small forward and our most dynamic and dangerous small forward. He comes in, and probably the surprise out of I've been sort of looking at a lot of sort of people's opinions on this, but I'm keeping Matty Kennedy in that pocket as that sort of hybrid forward. I feel like, I feel like we need a little bit of structure down there with him. And given that we've got Fogarty, Motlop, and also Cottrell, and I've got Owies on the bench, I just feel like we need another marking target who can also pinch it in the middle as well. So I'm keeping Matty Kennedy in, and there's the interchange bench, boys. It's a little bit small. I was thinking maybe bringing Marchbank in, but I just feel like he needs probably a run in the twos before he gets his opportunity. So I've gone Owies, Boyd, Carroll, Cunningham, and Fantasia. The veteran will be the sub for me, boys.
Well, Christian asked the question I wanted to ask. Yeah, Orazio, the sub, do you believe he's... Why did you do that? You're not sending him to the VFL. Have you done that for like an age reason that you feel that Durden's better suited to the VFL and get some minutes under him and he's developing and Orazio's not really going to learn something and he kind of knows it? Do you feel it might be the perfect 20-minute cameo? Because it looked like Orazio's just not quite with the game speed yet, didn't it?
Yeah, that's probably my reason, actually, Pom. I think Durden just had limited minutes, one quarter of football. His pressure was okay, but it wasn't like he set the world on fire in that last quarter. It's very difficult to come on and have an impact. I just feel like he probably needs some minutes under his belt, and he's probably not necessarily going to get that unless he goes into this starting 22. I don't think he's going to...
We've lost him.
Is that?
There he is.
We just lost you for a minute.
Oh, you lost me. Am I back?
Yeah, you are.
I can't see them getting rid of Fogarty. I can't see them getting rid of Cottrell. And I've just got to bring Motlop in. He's ready to go. If his toe's okay, he's ready to go. I can't see him playing VFL. And yeah, I'm having the veteran as a sub. I just think it might be a nice way to bring Fantasia in rather than starting him on the ground. And he does have that experience to probably play that role.
I love it. Leg Dog, any questions?
No, not without spoiling what my team reveal is. There's no questions. I think I also can. Oh, I'll give you this spoiler. Young's not in my team. I don't think he'll be in any of our teams. But I'm with you, Bucky. I think he's a little unlucky to be coming out of the team. I think he's been all right. I think he's done the job. He doesn't deserve to be dropped, but we've just seen that balance with him and Whittaker in the past hasn't quite worked out, and I can't really put my finger on why, but it just hasn't.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could potentially save him is if they want to purely use Whittaker as that really attacking intercept defender and give the Larky role to Young, which means probably Kemp would come out of the team, but I actually can't see that happening. I feel like they'll put Whittaker on their best forward, which is Larky, and back him. I don't think Larky's been in great form in the first 2 weeks. He was pretty ordinary last week. So it might be, I think that's a big test for Whittaker, though, to come in and play against one of the top sort of defenders. Almost like one of the best key forwards in the game at the moment in Larky. But yeah, we trust that his body's right and he's ready to go, and he's just squeezed out. It's sort of interesting, isn't it, where it leaves? It's probably a question for later on, but where it leaves Lewis Young in the scheme of things, because doesn't work, or it didn't work last year when those two boys played together, Wiedering and Young. It was a little bit cumbersome.
I agree.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. It is an awkward one.
Ian, have you got any questions with this team?
Not a lot of questions. I think one of mine would probably just be probably one of the things that hasn't been amazing to start the year for us has really been our stoppage and clearance work. Are you doing anything, I guess, team selection wise or midfield mix wise in trying to address that? Is that maybe why you've looked to keep Kennedy in there for his short burst? What were your thinking around how we can turn that around with the team you've selected?
Yeah, I think definitely, mate. I think Kennedy does provide that. He provides that sort of that pressure around the ball. It's definitely something that I think we'll all be watching this week against North Melbourne. I think one of their strengths is their up and coming midfield. And I really like. I mean, he doesn't get many accolades, and I know he had his pants pulled down last week against Luke Jackson, but I really like their young ruckman and Christian Cherry. I think he's really good. In fact, I think I watched that game really closely, and he was actually on top of Luke Jackson in the first half, and then Luke Jackson just exploded. So I'm a little bit worried about our midfield mix still. I feel like we're trying different things without Sam Walsh. We're trying to throw Ollie Hollands in there at times, and Cunningham and Carroll. Carroll's a likely type. He stays in the team, but yeah, Kennedy does provide that real grunt around the ball. And traditionally, I mean, there's no Cunnington anymore. There's no Zeeble. So it's not like they'll be necessarily bullying us. But I feel like if we can just get those mature bodies around the ball and make it really difficult for North Melbourne to get their spread going, Kennedy remains in the team for me. But that will be the close watch, I think, for all of us this weekend will be our clearance and stoppage work, because it's been well below par in the first two rounds.
I love it. I think the VFL is going to be a very interesting watch this week as well, just to see if they can put some pressure on them senior boys. Because I think if Cunningham doesn't fly, if Carroll doesn't fly, I think Elijah Hollands may be trying to put his hand up, and I think he's got a week in VFL to do it.
Yeah, I think so, Pom. I mean, you just couldn't bring him in. You just could not bring him in based on, I don't think he's had much football over the last, I mean, I know they do a lot of sort of match sim at training and stuff, but he just hasn't had a lot of football. And really, has he necessarily proved himself at this level for our team? And who's he pushing out? So if he has a big game, wherever he's playing, I'd be interested to see where he actually plays in the VFL, whether he just goes straight onto the ball or he plays that high half forward role. But, I mean, there are some guys in this team that need to, they can't be sort of just sitting on their heels. I love the competition for spots. I really do. And we're starting to get those numbers back. And obviously, Sam Walsh, fingers crossed, is ready in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Mate, I can't wait. I love the team, Bucky. Nice and simple. And we pick on me. I went very similar. I thought, let's not reinvent the wheel. I tried to reinvent the wheel last week. Tried to be your excitement machine, chat. This week, I'm going safe. Pretty much the same team that went out last week, with the exception of Whittaker and Motlop do come in. Lewis Young, unfortunately, makes way. I agree with Bucky. I think he's done his job, but, I mean, you're replacing 1974 Hyundai with a 2024 Tesla. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You're taking the Tesla. Sam Durden, Corey Durden, I put him back in the VFL. I figured that it's not doing anyone any justice, 20 minutes a time. And Matt Kennedy, I did drop. Now, I have a reason. I went with Operation Walsh in 2 weeks. So I don't see the purpose of Matt Kennedy. I think that's a specialist role for Ashton Moore or Elijah, whoever it will be. And I figure this midfield mix has got to work it out in game without Walsh. So Kennedy's had limited minutes there. But I've gone bold. I've just brought in the boys. I brought in Mr. Wheater in, brought in Motlop. I feel like Motlop can be that difference maker in the forward half. And I toyed with Orazio being dropped, but I just feel he doesn't learn anything in VFL, and he looks confidence-based, so I'm willing to give him a until Walsh gets back. As dangerous as that sounds, I'm willing to give him till Walsh gets back.
Could be all year, Pom.
He's straight out. And Matt Kennedy went to the sub because I figured the VFL boys, Elijah needs to play some football. I want to see him 4 quarters. I don't want to see him cameo. Don't want to see Ashton Moyer have 18 minutes. Have a full VFL game. And we know Bam Bam can play anywhere. If that's a midfield change and they get on top of us, bung him on the midfield. If the forward line needs an extra marking target, bring him on. Feel like Kennedy is the perfect sub because he plays like 8 roles. So that's the team, ladies and gentlemen. Fire your questions.
Mate, Kennedy plays half back sometimes as well, so he can really do it all.
When Voss is angry, yeah.
Yeah, when Vossi's angry. I mean, this is less to do with your team. What do we think's happening with Corey Durden? I thought I had him as sub going into round 0 in our team, and I didn't think we'd see him actually play in round 1. What do you think the thought process is behind him, and where's he at in the scheme of our forwards?
I think he's Fogarty, but I think Fogarty's just too good. Like his defensive craft has really kept Corey in the team when he was in, but I think Fogarty is 10 times the defensive forward he is, but also he's starting to add them layers. We've seen that this year, haven't we? Fogarty has started to get a little bit more aggressive in his disposal when he's handoff. And aside from the goals aspect with Fog, I think Durden's got to really go in the VFL and say, I'm a complete forward. I don't think he can hide behind the defensive side anymore. So I think Durden's got probably the hardest job. He's probably, this time last year, we were saying Durden's going to delist Fogarty. Feels like it's flipped now, doesn't it? Fogarty, he's basically sacking Durden.
It's amazing. And then you've got the situation of Matthew Cottrell, who was our defensive winger, now another defensive sort of forward who can run up and down the ground. And who would have thought that was the case 12 months ago? I mean, we just had Cottrell probably on the fringe of playing wing. Now you sort of pencil him in across half forward. It's like, and he's making it difficult for other players to come and play that role. It's amazing the turnaround. I feel like, I just feel like he needs to go to the VFL. I just don't think playing the sub right now is probably good for him. Was there a VFL game a couple of weeks back when he played the sub? Did they have a game that weekend, Pom? They did, didn't they? They did have a VFL.
Yeah, because they've had Coburg and then they had Richmond.
Yeah, we didn't get any match reports. We didn't get any match reports or anything from both of those games, but it's the first game for them in the VFL this weekend. I'd be just go back and just have 4 quarters and put some runs on the board and put your name up in lights. I just feel like these guys are just in front of him at the moment. It's a lot to do with his body as well. I mean, he had a wretched run with injury. I think he's got some talent, but it's just bloody hard to get a game in this team at the moment. And I don't think you can just go on potential at the moment. You need to be producing and playing if you're not producing, playing a specific role. Because I don't know about you boys. I look at Matthew Cottrell and I think, shit, he's been quiet.
Yeah.
But then you read, or you listen to the coaches and what they're asking of him, and you think, yeah, I sort of get it. I get what he's doing. Whereas I don't know with guys like what is the role of Corey Durden? Is he a pure sort of small forward to kick goals? I know they all want to apply pressure, but I feel like he's battling with as Pommy said, he's battling with Fogarty and probably battling with Motlop as well.
I think you've a couple of good points there. One quick one on Fogarty. He's leading us for goal assists this year. He's ranked elite in that so far. Small sample size, 2 games, but still he's had 2 a game so far. So he's been great in that sort of role, which is something Durden doesn't bring. And then the other point you touched on there around Cunners potentially being a bit quiet, but having a good rap from the coaches. I think it speaks to sort of where the team's at now versus 2 or 3 years ago, where we used to have a bunch of role players that we needed to be superstars, and now we kind of got enough structure in place where the role players can just be role players. So Ollie Holland's right. He's averaging 8 touches a game or something on the wing, but he's averaging 23 or whatever it is pressure acts a game. So it's just a different ecosystem. And if you're not doing your job, I'll say it this way: if you're doing your job, you're going to stay in the team. So I think that speaks to what you've said about Cots, what you said, Pom, about Fogue. I think we're at a good spot. And Durden, bad luck, basically.
It's such an interesting part, I think, with that sort of small forwards, and now with that Fogarty and Cottrell have almost locked down to a degree those other roles in there. What the mix is like. So I think that's my kind of question to Pommy is there's a Jack Martin-shaped hole still in that forward line. You'd think Silvani would have taken that spot, but obviously he's out for the year as well. We've tried Kennedy in that kind of third marking tall down there. You've moved him to the sub. You've made the three smalls play instead. What were your thoughts around the structure and trying something different? Because that sort of forward line's the big growth area for us. Apart from the big two fellas in there, we haven't really nailed the mix and the structures in the forward line, with the other guys being the cameo role players. So what was your makeup this week, and why'd you go with the three smalls? What are you trying to conjure up?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound like I'm potting Matt Kennedy, and that's not the case. But Matt Kennedy, for me, is not a forward. He's not. And you look at the role he's played for Voss this year, it's kind of what Jesse Motlop was doing, but Jesse Motlop was better. Do you know what I mean? He had more pressure acts, more tackles inside 50, more goals. So, and there's only, a couple of centimetres. I think there's about 7 centimetres between Kennedy and Motlop as it is. So they're not going to play that role. I think the VFL, it would have been great if we'd had 3 proper games that we could look at, not a Mickey Mouse game against Coburg and a Mickey Mouse game against Richmond. So we could actually see what Ashton's about, because I think Ashton has probably got the easiest gig at Carlton because he's probably in the team by default if he plays 3 games in the VFL to average specification. So just do what you're doing. They're floating that Cotter's role. We saw Kerno go a little bit more out wide and they played Kennedy deeper. That kind of worked for patches against Richmond. I feel like for Carlton, we know how to win games of football. And the style of transition football, you don't need that third toe. We do need that third toe when we play the old way. But if the ball's coming in quick, you look at Sydney, the ball comes in at pace, the smalls go to town. So I think Motlop, for me, is better at Kennedy's role in this team than what they're meant to do. So for me, I'd back Motlop, ball coming in quicker, working off the tolls, always deep, waiting for scraps, Fogarty making everyone make a mess. I think Motlop's the man. So, in my opinion, I love Kennedy, but he's okay. But Motlop is a forward, a premium forward at that as well.
No, I like it. I'm happy to change something up, definitely.
What are you thinking with Fantasia, Pom? Are you just sort of watching him closely? I mean, he's obviously rusty and looks a little bit nervous, and he doesn't look himself. Is there another spot for him other than just that sort of pure small forward? I'm not saying throw him across half back or anything, but is he capable of spending some time on a wing? In that
I enjoyed Voss's little Dustin Martin with him, last week against Richmond, where he put him on the ball for periods to try and get him the ball. My thought process with Orazio is he's an old man. So he knows how to play the game. It's more of a confidence, rusty shit, the Ringler stuff. For me, VFL, I'd rather Durden and Ashton lead that forward line. We know if Orazio fails the next week or so, okay, let's bring in Durden. Let's bring in someone fit. But Durden looked like he was flagging at the end of his cameo. He looked tired. So at least Orazio's fit. And for me, Orazio, he needs a goal, doesn't he? Ideally, Mackay needs to give him a Joe de Goose in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. And I think what always provides is he is a goal kicker. He is a reliable goal kicker. And I think he'll continue to stay in this team. His pressure's generally pretty good as well, but he is the guy that consistently hits the scoreboard. And you can't deny that with him. And that's the thing. He's a 1 or 2, he averages 2 goals a game. Like he's at times he can be frustrating, but he hits the scoreboard.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, always Motlop, Arazio, Kerno, Mackay. That's goals galore, isn't it? Like that. Like on paper, that's a lot of goals.
Yeah, we just have to get it out of them, though. I mean, it doesn't matter who kicks them. I mean, we'd love to get probably more goals from our midfield, but it doesn't matter who kicks them. But at the same time, I think we would all love to see that spread around a little bit more, and not be quite too heavily reliant on Charlie and on Hadj, if they're down or if we need to try something a little bit different, because we need our smalls to be really, really dangerous. I know they do apply that good forward craft pressure, but we need them to hit the bloody scoreboard. You know what I mean? Even Fog.
Amen. Well, Lapdog, you kept it simple, which is unlike you, Lapdog. You are one of the more tricky customers. Talk us through your team, like.
Pom, well, I messaged you today when I was trying to do the team, and I was having real issues with it. So I was overcomplicating it with numbers and stuff. I kept it simple. I almost pulled Kennedy out of the team just because I think he's doing an okay job at a couple of things rather than a good job at one role. But I ultimately kept it in. So I kept it simple. It was Young out for Whittering, just because. And again, it's not Young's fault. I think he's been serviceable, but Whittering's better. And he's, one of our many co-captains, I believe, or vice co-captains. Anyway, he's in charge of the back line. He comes into the team. Durden as sub, he comes out. I brought in Elijah Hollins to be the sub. I know he hasn't played football, but I think in the same vein, Motlop hasn't played football. He gives us a bit of flexibility, and I think he is probably someone we're eyeing off for this questionable Kennedy, Cunningham, Cottrell. Which one is it? Jack Carroll. At some stage, a couple of those guys are going to have to come out of this team, and I think Elijah's going to be one competing for it. I think it's more about who I left in. So I didn't bring Motlop in just because I figured if I'm weighing up Hollins or Motlop, which were the two players I was sort of weighing up. One's been out with injury, so reduced load. One's just been out because he was carrying some stuff around in his wallet that he probably shouldn't have been doing, which, if you watch the news, apparently everyone does. But I kept Orazio in because looking through his numbers, I know it feels like he's not impacting as much as we'd like, but, his contested possession rate's really good. Most of what he's doing is hard ball. He's assisting goals. He just hasn't hit the scoreboard yet, and I think to get the best out of him, he needs to get that confidence up. What better team is he going to do that against than North Melbourne this week in perfect conditions? Like, if he can't do it this week, yeah, we revisit it and maybe he comes out of the side next week. But there's no better opportunity for him to bob up and snag a couple of goals this week because all the attention, we know it's going to be on Mackay, it's going to be on Kerno, it's going to be on Owies, it's going to be on, they're the main ones really. And North Melbourne's defence running the other way looks solid, especially across their half-back line, like Bucky pointed out before. But to be honest, in terms of defensive traits, they don't have a lot in there. And I think Orazio is essentially going to have an opportunity to impact. So he stayed in for me. So I was really tossing up between whether Orazio or Kennedy came out, and ultimately I just landed on neither of them comes out. So pretty simple team. The sub role, I think, isn't as massively important as to who it is because the way we use it tends to be for half of the last quarter or so. So unless there's an injury. But look, I'm just backing in Hollins to come on and be an impact player in a short period of time.
Elijah. So Lapdog, hypothetical. Let's just say the AFL had got something right and the VFL played a full week last week. Like, do you know what I mean? The most logical thing to do, the VFL team play when the AFL team have a bye. Most logical thing you could do, but the AFL never do it. But let's just say Ashton, what would have Ashton had to have done to get in this side? Because I think we all agree we'd like that third tall. What would Ashton have to do for you to have picked him this week?
Rock up, put his boots on. It wouldn't have taken much. I really want him. I really, really want him in the team. I just think it's hard to pick him off literally. He played, half a game of a practice match running around next to Clayton Oliver in the twos. It's hard to pick him off just that. At least these other guys have played footy, but no, he's going to be in my team very soon. I'll promise you that. Because I think you're right. I think he serves that Jack Martin role pretty seamlessly, the Silvani role. Unless they bring Pito in and try TDK as that forward hybrid thing, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, I want him in the team.
Do North Melbourne have a small forward?
That's a good question. Let me pull up their list from last week. They don't have a lot, Bucky. They don't have a lot.
You watch someone do it this week against us. Feels like that always happens.
I mean, Zerha and Stevenson generally cause us headaches, particularly when Stevenson was playing for.
They got Paul Curtis is a pretty good player.
He's a talent. He's a real talent. Yep. Okay, there you go. But I like that team, mate. I like that team, and I think, I'd prefer maybe to see Elijah Hollins to maybe have a full run in the at VFL level. But I
think that's fair. I don't mind. I don't think it's going to be one of those ones where they play him as a sub and play him in half a game or whatever it is, where we've seen him try that in the past. But a full game in the twos or a quarter in the ones, I just figure if there was a game in our upcoming schedule to do it, this is probably the one for me. Not to take them too lightly, but they're shit.
Just touching on the North forwards. I know he's not that amazing, not a small, but someone that seems to weirdly always trouble us. Jaden Stevenson. Don't know how he does it. Every single time he seems to come up against us. Plays the best game of football he ever has. So another little one to watch out for.
I remember one game. I think it might have been during COVID up in the hub in Queensland. When he was playing for Collingwood. We played the Pies at the Gabba. I don't know if you boys remember that game. I think he may have taken Lockie Plowman into the cleaners in that game. He always causes headaches. But yeah, no, I like it. Leck Dog, good team.
I think we haven't really talked about the opposition, but their midfield's really strong, as in the talent that runs through it. So we do need to win it at the contest. But I think it's going to be one at either end of the ground, and you'd have to say on paper, I'll say that to be not a smug prick, but we're better than them at both ends of the ground.
Well, look. I think you mentioned it before. Like that defense of theirs is. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's as bad as it could get.
Yeah.
When you sort of you got Core and Pink as your key backs. They got Dawson. There's another sort of bloke sort of coming through. And all their sort of running half backs are questionable defensively, even our boy Zach Fisher, like he can find the ball and he's elusive, but Jesus, can he really defend? So if we can just get our mojo back in the midfield, I mean we should be able to do some we should be able to do some damage. But there's always a but with our football team.
There always is.
But.
Well, we come on to Ian's navy blue corner, and
going big.
Ian, I haven't seen this many changes since we did this show after the Essendon loss. Talk me through it.
Yeah, it feels weird to make this many sweeping changes undefeated and starting the season pretty well, to be honest. But I don't know. I'll take you through it because I feel like it makes sense, at least in my head anyway. I mean, the obvious one there is Whittaker comes straight in for Lewis Young. He's been serviceable, but Whittaker's your top three best players. He's obviously coming in if fit, so that's an easy swap for me. Then the other easy in, at least, is that Motlop comes in. I think he's our best small forward. We've clearly been lacking in that small forward region and guys that can kick goals. And we saw the tail end in particular, Motlop. When you need a goal, he seems to be able to find it and spark that little bit of magic. Bit stiff in the guy I've dropped. It was really between, I think, Fantasia and Always. I know Always kicked, I think it was 2 goals against Richmond. Weirdly, Feel free to disagree. I still don't think he was amazing and offered a lot throughout the whole game. And I know Fantasia was poor last week, but I really liked Fantasia's game in the opening round against Brisbane. Thought his link-up play was really, really good and probably a bit stiff not to get involved a little bit more in front of goals. So really the always decision comes because of the other guy I've decided to bring in big Brad Pitt into the ruck to help. Kennedy's been kind of playing that Martin role in the forward line. Haven't loved it. We've tried it so many times. I kind of just want to put it in the bin and let's never try and do it again because I just don't think he offers enough as that. And I feel like we can try something else to see if it can work. Whereas midfield hasn't been amazing. TDK got soundly beaten for really 2 games in a row. I don't love them working together as much. I like the idea of TDK and Harry and getting some run elsewhere, but it's North Melbourne. Why not try something else? And they've got a good midfield, so let's bring in a bigger body that Carlton's midfield has said for quite a while. He helps with the blocking, helps add a little bit to help those mids going. And because I'm dropping Kennedy and we don't have that third tall, we've spoken about it already. North don't have good key defenders, so let's exploit that. Let's make it really hard for them. We've got De Koning down there along with Harry and Charlie. Let's stretch them in that area. And that kind of, I guess, goes as well to my Fantasia over Owies. I see Owies as a little bit more marking, whereas Fantasia's more ground ball, pace around link-up play. So I think just team balance-wise, I've done that. And I guess, yeah, there's always that element of we got the week off, so we should be a little bit more fresh, but it's very stiff, I think, in the end. And the last one, just quickly, is, I guess, Elijah Hollands coming in. Sub's always a tough one. I'm always hot on this. I feel like I was last year. We don't seem to use the sub amazingly. We bring in a small forward or a big body midfielder. I want some excitement off that sub. I want someone that can change the game a little bit. And I like that Hollands has that ability to play a few different positions, bring some pace, change things around with that versatility. And I know we're saying he hasn't played any football. We're kind of saying the same thing about Motlop, but we're all happy to bring him in. So I'm happy to disagree there. And at least in Elijah's case, he's been training the whole time, whereas Motlop hasn't been there in every training session. So I like that little bit of a spark coming off the sub. What do we think about all the changes? Because it's a lot. First? I do agree it's a lot.
Can I go first? At 7:22, bevtone wrote in the comments, nailed it as usual, Ian. At 7:35, bevtone wrote, Ian, what the fuck?
It's one of the biggest heel turns you'll see.
I'll just say... just quickly on Pitto, I think the club, when he's fit, will play Pitto and TDK in the same team. I just don't think... my little whisperers are still telling me he can't run.
Look, if that's the case and his body genuinely is nowhere near it, then I don't want him anywhere near the team. I think me with Pitto, I've never been his biggest fan, and I've been talking on the podcast for a while saying... what's that next element? Who's going with De Koning? Because he's clearly the future and can go forward. Feels like that's Harry. If Pitto's fit at the moment, I'm just interested to see what we can try and whether that we find out, okay, we need to go with the 2 ruckmen for the midfield to function at its finest. And it's just that, that other forward role is worrying me right now. And this is almost the best week to really go over the top with a bit of height in there. And I think worst case, if Pitto is absolutely garbage and there's no other injuries, Hollands comes straight into the team and he's versatile enough playing half forward, midfield. You can move the magnets around and I think we'd be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think you raised a great point about Pitt and that. And I think as much as I love TDK, and I thought that last quarter against Richmond was outstanding. He was exceptional. Yeah. I think his strength is obviously clearance work once the ball hits the deck and getting around the ground. But is there a correlation between our mids being slightly down at contest and clearance because Pitnet's not there? I'm not quite sure. And he has been he has been soundly beaten. He was soundly beaten early in the game against Nankervis. Nankervis obviously got tired coming back into the team, and McInerney the week before. But he had the thing with TDK, he had patches in those games where it almost felt like he turned the game for us and was such a big influence. And it's a headache because I'm not sold on TDK as a forward. I just don't think he has forward craft. And he should be able to clunk marks because he clunks them around the ground, but he drops them when he's forward. And how long can we sort of keep sort of running with that? But I agree with Lek. I think eventually we will play the two, but I've got no idea about Pitnet's body and what he's struggling with at the moment. But it is a headache. I think that ruck situation with us and trying to find which one of those two boys can go forward and make an impact. But it's certainly not Pitnet.
Pom, I think I'll ask you this question, Pom, about Ian's team. If we told you, like we did the other day, without putting names to stats, that we could bring in someone that helps us in the centre, which we've struggled a little bit in terms of the clearance work, and allows us to stretch a weak defensive line by adding TDK into the mix, you'd probably take it. But as soon as you say the name Peter, everyone in chat loses their mind. So what are you thinking, Pom? I like the logic behind both parts of it. I just don't know if I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I'd counter it and say that Harry and Charlie have stretched a very strong backline in Richmond. Even though they didn't have their superstars of their flag-winning era, it's changed a lot since then. It's very well structured. They're hard work. The week before against Brisbane, Harris Andrews is one of the best key defenders in the competition, if not the best. It was a handful. Charlie and Harry, without downplaying North Melbourne's backline, should be laughing, going, Toby Pink. One of us has Toby
Aiden
Pink.
Core. Who else?
Do you know what I mean? Honestly, Harry and Charlie should be going, Toby Pink. Whichever one of us gets him gets 10. That's how their mindset should be. So I don't think we should be looking at stretching it, because I'd fancy Harry and Charlie to stretch a backline of Sam Taylor and Harris Andrews. These are the two best forwards in the league, two of the best. So they should be looking at it. I used to be Team Pitto, but I'm not Team Pitto anymore.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Pom there. I think the days of stretching defences, I don't know, it feels like they're gone. I mean, I know the Dogs tried it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But geez, I'm comfortable with just a Charlie and a Harry as your bigs who can mark above their head, and then you sort of get to work at ground level, because what we do know, Charlie's not great at ground level. He doesn't necessarily do a lot of defensive sort of stuff at ground level, and you don't expect the big guys to be doing that. And do we necessarily want to be bombing the ball inside forward 50 anyway?
Definitely not. I think definitely not that way. Yeah.
That's why I went small. I think the focus is the transition. So you look at Sydney, you watch both Sydney sides. It's there so quickly that suddenly the smalls are more important than their toes.
Yeah.
And
get out the back.
Saw GWS, Jesse Hogan, he was left one out half the time. And if we can do that with Harry and leave one-on-one, I don't think there's a side in the league we can't beat if we can get that structure going.
So what's your thoughts on it moving forward then, Pom? Do you see a situation where the two could play together at all, or are you just thinking, Pitnet's just a backup now? What's your thinking there? Because it sounds like you're sort of saying now, we're playing a little bit differently.
I said it at the time when it was a 4-year deal on minimum chips. That struck me as they basically told Peter, you're going to be the number 2 eventually. But what we'll do is we'll guarantee your career. We'll guarantee your career for 4 years, but our focus is on TDK. And I think it'll be like what Darren's saying here. I think it's courses for courses. I think if you play a team like Fremantle who have 2 bona fide rucks, yes, you maybe play the 2, because we know Darcy is more interested in playing the man, which I think TDK struggles with. But I think when you look at North, they're playing Zeri, who I do rate, but then it's pinch hit between the forwards. You might as well just do TDK and Harry. I think that's the logical way, and I think we play better football. I think this year we look a better football side than we do last year because we can score organically. It's not just all from contest.
It's an interesting perspective. I think that just probably my last thing on it, because I'm not necessarily like 100%. We've got to bring Pito in. He's the answer to all our problems. But I think the last thing that I'm, I guess, rationalizing this through is looking at the actual midfield and the way that has been going as well. We've been struggling in a lot of the hitouts for a lot of it. If the buy probably didn't happen, it'd be a lot easier for the argument to just say keep TDK like it is, because first 2 rounds, I thought he got battered really, except for 1 quarter against Nankervis, which he was very lucky in the third. He spent most of the time on the bench. That probably helped him in that sense. So I just worry with TDK at the moment. Can he really handle just that number 1 ruck mantle? And is that holding us back with the midfield? And I do agree with Bucky with the, I guess, not stretching teams as much anymore. However, I probably turn a little bit towards the GWS game against North in trying to stop what North do well, which is their blistering off halfback with a guy like Zach Fisher, where for a lot of the time, because of GWS as tall as he's playing on Riccardi. So I wonder if we can also try and take a bit away from North and their attack by trying to get a bit more height up there throughout stages. And again, if it all goes tits up and it's looking horrific, Elijah just comes straight on.
Let's pick this team, gentlemen, because I'm just looking at the time. I know Bucky's going to have to jump off, and I'm going to have to jump off in a second as well.
Easy.
Let's do it, chat. So, chat, same rules apply as always. One of us has 1 vote. You pick the rest. Because Paolo's gone, you get 2 votes, chat. But we'll start top to bottom. Mr. Legdog, which backman are you going to save?
I'll do the easy job, and I'll put Jacob Whittaker at fullback. Thank you.
Waiter him. Okay, Mr. Ian.
Jordan Boyd, as always.
And Bucky.
I'm going with the potential whipping boy in Brody Kemp.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it. A bit of support for the Kempster. I love it. I don't know who I like the most. I'm going to go Sard, because I think Sard's going to have a big one. Marvel. Dry day. Ramadan. Like, he's got it all there. Right, so chat. We need 2 defenders. We need a centre halfback and a halfback flanker. We've got Newman. A vote for Newman. Everyone always forgets Newman as well. So vote them. You've got Z, Will and Gov. Tell you what, that backline's hard to pick.
Mate, it picks itself now. With Boyd playing so well, he's just the 7th, if you want to call it that, defender. That's just it. We just picked those 7.
Looks like definitely Newman and Gov. Williams is starting to get a little bit of love. Newman and looks like Newman and Gov.
Oh, look at this!
A lot
of
come from nowhere.
Gavin Williams, Newman.
All right.
He's got a good name as old Zach Williams. So okay, we come on to midfielders. Leg dog. This is the easiest one usually because the centre line is set and forget.
Do we even need to pick it? Put Hollands in for me.
Hollands. He's got. I'm guessing you're going with Ollie.
Yes, sorry, Ollie. To be clear,
there's 2 of them now. Okay, Ian.
Give me. Oh my goodness, Jack Carroll. Jack Carroll, please.
Whoa.
Are you playing him as a follower?
Yeah, we'll chuck him there. We've either one. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Just want him in the team.
Look at him. Bucky.
Give me Akers.
Oh, you made it hard, chat. You know what? I'll make it tense. Do you give him the day off because he's had a baby? I'm going to go Hewitt. So, chat, we need a centre man.
And a ruckman.
And Come on,
Pitt.
I would be impressed if the chat voted Peter based on the feedback we've had.
What do you mean? Thought they loved it.
Someone's got Crips, TDK and Crips. TDK, Cripper and TDK. Tell you what, chat, yeah.
Hewitt, Chero, that's...
People, you see, this is so hard that even Chera's only just getting votes now as well.
Mate, Chera and Nick Newman are going to start on the bench. And like, were they all Australian last year? Was Hewitt all Australian? I can't remember.
Hewitt, no, he wasn't all Australian. Hewitt.
Newman.
In our minds, he was. In our minds, he was. So there we are. We're on to the forwards now. So, Select Dog, hit me with your forwards.
I will. You know what? Just because I backed him in, I'm going to back in Orazio.
Orazio, he is in the team. Ian,
I'll try to make it difficult. Motlop in the other pocket, please.
That does make it difficult.
I love it. Bucky,
I'm going really difficult. I'm going Kennedy.
Oh man, Charlie and Harry are going to miss.
you know what? I'm going to Elijah.
Oh, look at this.
Whoa.
That's it. Pitt's coming in with my next pick. You wait.
So you know what? I'm backing in Elijah. I didn't pick him in my team, but I adore Elijah, and I'm not having Elijah not playing. Chat,
we're going to have such a good player miss out in this team.
We need forwards, chat. We need forwards. So we've got Fogarty's getting vote. I can't believe Fogarty's getting in before Charlie and Hadj.
Charlie, Harry,
here we are.
Charlie and Hadj.
There we are, Charlie and Hadj. Look at this, Paul, the man of reason. Peter Bazzosto. It's probably a place for him in this side, to be fair. We're looking for someone. We are Harry and Charlie. Logic is resumed. Let's put them in.
I'm looking at the names on the list and I'm looking at how many spots we've got in the team.
So
I'm worried.
We've got 4 interchange and the sub. Leckdog, Chera, Cottrell, Cunningham, Fogarty, Newman, Owies, Pitt.
Newman.
I love it. Ian?
Oh, gee, this is so tough. Fogarty.
Wow.
Mr. Bucky.
Is Hewitt been picked yet? He has, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I saved him.
Chera hasn't.
Chera, Cottrell, Cunningham, Owies, Pitt and that.
No, Cunningham. Is Cunningham been picked?
No, not yet.
Yeah, put him in.
This is so spicy.
Oh,
He's a class act.
that's like choosing
Been
between
good.
my kids, Chera or Cottrell. It's so hard.
Struggling in the midfield. We'll drop Chera.
And Noah Owies, who was our best goal kick, third best goal kicker last year. And
Chera's. I'm going to have to save Chera. We gave up a top 10 pick for him.
But he was he was poor against Richmond. Ross was unhappy.
Oh God, I can't do it. Okay, chat, you've got to name the sub. Your sub is either Cottrell, Owies, or Pitternet. Got a vote for Owies, Cotters.
Oh, no. Wow, Ian was right to drop Owies, apparently.
Couldn't get Pitt into the team, but we'll get one decision going my way.
There we are, chat. The team: Kemp, Whittaker, Boyd, Williams, McGovern, Sard, Akers, Cripps, Hollands, Kennedy, Mackay, Elijah Hollands, Fantasia, Kerno, Motlop, TDK, Carroll, Hewitt, Newman, Fogarty, Cunningham, Chera, and the bench. Warmer, the sub man, Cottrell, on the eve of his 3-year deal.
He's a perfect. I remember not that long ago, people were going, Cottrell was the perfect sub. So
All Australian sub, lock him in.
There he is. Well, chat, that is us done for the week. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week. This is probably the most bizarre team we've selected. So it's finally happened. If this comes through, Heck, I'll donate £1,000 to the Good Friday appeal. How's that?
Yeah.
I will do that. I will do that. And if not, we'll still donate something. But look after yourselves, everyone. Bucky, make sure you go and subscribe to Bucky. He's just hit 3K. Let's get him up to 4K. Ian, make sure you go and watch the Navy Blue Corner live on Blue Abroad straight after this. Make sure you go and subscribe to Lexi Does. Great content there if you're into your figurines and you just want to see Lek Dog be his true self. I'll be back. I've got Allow Me to Be Frank starting on Friday, a new show. So check that out, and the preview will be up tomorrow. Everyone look after yourselves. See you later. We'll be back next week. Go Blues.
Go Blues.
See you guys.